We have major news to discuss today. Prince Harry and Meghan have announced where they will be vacationing at the end of the year. No, obviously not. Don't worry. This is still the David Pakman Show. There's a ton to say about the real news, which is we had our first full day of Donald Trump impeachment inquiry hearings. And on the one hand, there is a lot to say. And then on the other hand, there isn't that much to say in a sense. I'll explain what I mean by that. The highlight or the low light, depending on your proclivity, was that Donald Trump had an absolute and total breakdown on Twitter as basically everything that has been asserted so far about the Trump-Ukraine fiasco was corroborated with some new allegations and assertions made, which we will get to a little bit later on in the program. Donald Trump spending the entirety of the just hour after hour after hour impeachment hearings, I think running about 6 hours in total, tweeting. Trump tweeting a total of, by my count, 26 times during the impeachment hearings. Clearly panicked and clearly erratic and clearly furious, but at the same time, clearly not understanding the content of the impeachment inquiry hearings, which we will also talk about. Because if I were to top level it for you, if someone watched nothing of the hearings yesterday and I had 7 seconds to tell them what happened, I would say everything that has been asserted so far was corroborated and even worse allegations were made, or even more incriminating things were said. And that is, of course, what we gleaned from the best recollection of the two witnesses. What we've heard so far from the whistleblower and from Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman and from Gordon Sondland and the whole host of them was corroborated. So let's refresh and we'll get to Donald Trump's tweets. Yesterday was day one of the Trump impeachment inquiry hearings. Tomorrow, Friday, will be day two, during which we will hear from Marie Yovanovitch. Yesterday, we heard testimony from William Taylor, the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, and George Kent, the top envoy to Ukraine. Now, the thing about the hearings was that they were long and they were slow and they were detailed and they were, by the standards of 2019 low attention span, dopamine hit media culture, they were boring and they were complicated. Everything that causes Donald Trump and his followers to think that nothing happened here, it's a nothing burger. It was nonsense. It was old guys talking in circles about nothing. But if you paid attention, you would have noticed that the questions from Democrats who were actually trying to learn something were answered with clear corroborations of the story as it's been told thus far. There was context. There was history. There were all of these things that don't make great clips for 5 o'clock and 11 o'clock news, but the quid pro quo, the expectations from Trump of Ukraine, the military aid, so on and so forth, all corroborated thanks to the questioning of Democrats, along with some grandstanding as well, I completely admit. Now, the Republican questions were almost postmodern, simply repeating vague epistemological questions because they could not actually put together a line of questioning that pointed to anything other than attempted bribery by Donald Trump and the people around him. Can you think of something and be wrong about your opinion? Could you misinterpret the intentions of someone else? Haven't people been wrong before about what they believed happened? And as I tweeted yesterday, for a group that claims to be against postmodernism and relativism so ardently, Republicans had nothing to go to other than these hypotheticals about how do we know what we know? Can we know anything? Is anything really knowable as true? Because they had nothing else. To understand Republican questions at yesterday's impeachment hearings, you also had to understand a lot of viral Facebook nonsense, because a lot of the lines of questioning from Republicans that focused on impugning people's character assassination, so on and so forth, if you were not up to speed on popularly shared fake news articles and Facebook memes and conspiracy theories, you wouldn't even understand where it was Republicans were trying to go with their questions yesterday. And because of this, of course, that is the defense that they are going with. They try to remind their low information supporters that even though the witnesses are being completely consistent in their testimony and they're corroborating what's already been alleged, everyone might just be misremembering or misinterpreting things. That is effectively the defense that they tried to frame up. It's not really a defense, but sadly, Donald Trump fell for it. And that means Donald Trump's followers will fall for it and think that yesterday was merely just, hey, this is people saying things that could be wrong, and that's it. So then we get to Donald Trump's tweets, just completely all over the place. And again, how does a president have this much time to tweet? Lots of retweets of lunatic extremist content. For example, a video of absolutely bonkers Republican Jim Jordan asking questions with some bogus talking points from Republicans on the Oversight Committee. A retweet of a big sign claiming that Adam Schiff learned the identity of the whistleblower 93 days ago, which is not only untrue, it's also irrelevant. But again, we have time. We'll get to that a little bit later. Retweeting a video, obviously, from Fox News show Fox and Friends, where extremist Republican Kevin McCarthy calls this entire impeachment hearing process a sham. What is Trump doing all day that he sends out tweet after tweet after tweet, nearly 30 tweets during a 6-hour hearing? And speaking of Fox News, by the way, because Fox News was the subject matter of a lot of Donald Trump's tweets and retweets, Fox News is now fully back on the Trump bandwagon as far as yesterday's coverage goes, covering the impeachment hearings by defending Trump, by gaslighting viewers with completely bogus side-by-side biographical information about Adam Schiff and William Taylor. And we'll talk about some of those bogus, misleading graphics that Fox News put up a little bit later in the show. But first, we need to deal with a bigger picture issue in general with these hearings and the Trumpification of media.